Good day. My name is Juliana B. Balucan, a second year BS Criminology student. So for today's video, I'm going to discuss about the forced labor during the Rizals time. So let us define first what is forced labor. So forced labor is a compulsory labor imposed by the Spanish colonial authorities on adult Filipino males. During the Spanish colonization, Filipinos became a slave in their own country. We can't imagine now why our fellow countrymen are being abused in our motherland. Forced labor is a form of work or service in which people are forced to do against their will, without threat of punishment. The Philippines has a long history regarding forced labor. It all started back during the Spanish occupation of the Philippines, which was over 499 years ago. Filipinos are subjected to forced labor known as puro y servicio. They were given a little to no compensation. A lot of Filipinos during that time became slaves, which suffered abuse and torture. At that time, it was rampant and common. Spaniards belittled in the Filipinos, and most of them treated our ancestors lower than animals. Forced labor was required for males at the age of 18 to 60 years old. They are forced to work 40 days per year. It was reduced to 15 days by the year 1884, but there were certain Filipinos who are exempted from the said labor. There are the aristocrats who could pay taxes, which amounted to 70 pesos during that time. They put it simply, those who were rich and those who belonged to the rich family were exempted. Before its effectiveness, puro y servicio was put into writing and had various conditions along with it. These are the labor should be done and used for necessary public projects. Second laborers must be fully compensated. Third laborers should work near their homes. Lastly, they should be given a week or a month off so they could harvest and plant crops. Sadly, all these conditions were not met and they were subjected to abuse and injustice. Most of them were treated inhumanly, tortured, and even sexually assaulted. Compensations were not given and they were forced to work for free. A lot of them died due to sick, getting overworked, tortured, or straight up getting murdered. Puro y servicio, compulsory labor imposed by the Spanish colonial authorities on adult Filipino males in the construction of churches, schools, hospitals, buildings, roads and bridges, ships, etc. Filipino males from 16 to 60 years old were obliged to render forced labor for 40 days a year. On July 12, 1883, Royal Decree changing the system of puro y servicios is issued. Wealthy ones were able to evade forced labor by paying fala, a sum of money. Spaniards were not drafted to forced labor, contrary to law, while the Filipino Pulistas received only a part of 2 pesetas, or 50 centavos, or worse, nothing at all. They starved the end-use, work in the farm and shops, and separate them from their families. During the Spanish colonization, some Filipinos were forced to work for the government. This colonial policy, called puro y servicios, was implemented in the Philippines for more than 250 years. So what is polo? All male Filipinos aged 16 to 60 years old were sent to different places to provide free labor for 40 days a year. This was reduced to 15 days in 1884. Pulistas, as the workers were called, were required to do such jobs as building roads and bridges, constructing public buildings and churches, cutting timber in the forest, working in shipyards, and serving Spanish military expeditions. What is the effects of polo? Many Filipinos suffered abuse and injustice because of polo. Pulistas worked for little no pay. They were also separated from their families and were forced to work despite hazardous or unhealthy conditions, resulting in injuries and death. This led to a string of revolts. that eventually gave rise to a wider revolution against the Spanish colonial government. And the crucial question is this: who benefited from the products of the police services? Certainly not the Spanish government, it was the people themselves. The roads, bridges, churches, etc. were for them, not for the government. And even up to now, many of these infrastructures are still being used today, even cherished and funded by heritage advocates.